Aye, shepherd's pie. Greetings from the Philippines. Welcome back to the garden for a coffee and a chat. The whinging Pom is going to do what he does best today. He's going to whinge. Well, I'm not actually going to whinge. I'm just going to give some observations that might upset a few people. I'm not setting out to upset people. If you are upset, I apologise. I would suggest that you consider taking it as constructive advice. These are just my observations. At the end of the day, you're all big boys. You know, you make your own decisions, and you live and die by them at the end of the day. One of the things that has amazed me since I came to Asia, saw it in Cambodia, saw it in Thailand, seen it in the Philippines now. Actually seen it more so, I think, in the Philippines, is this feeling that, or these unhappy, misogynistic vlogs and stories about how the Filipino or the Thai was only after their money, only took their money, and they did this and they did that, and they lost the land and they lost the house, and you know, all very sad stories. But it's never the guy's fault, is it? It's always the woman. She has done it. She has deceived him. She has lied. He was so great to her, and she just went behind his back, and she set out to rob him. Well, I'm sure sometimes that's true. I'm sure in some situations that does happen. But invariably, the protagonists here have rushed into things. They bought land quickly. They've done this. They've done that. Made the mistakes that most experienced expats will tell them not to do, to go slowly. But that's not really the point I'm making today. That's not, I mean, I've talked about that in other videos. What I haven't really talked about is relationships in Asia. Because they can be very strange. You know, it always amazes me when you see people and they come to the Philippines or Thailand looking for women. And when people ask them why on vlogs and things, they'll say they're looking for a traditional relationship. Well, what does that mean exactly? They're not happy with women in the West. Women in the West are too much trouble, etc., etc., etc. Okay, it's not a viewpoint I take, but you know, each to their own. You know, fair enough. But I often struggle with what this definition of a traditional relationship is. And I often laugh. I mean, recently there's been a few comments. I appreciate the comments. I appreciate the support. I was going to knock this channel on the head a couple of months ago. That's why I stopped posting. But I've had positive feedback since I came back on it, and it's encouraged me to keep going. So I am very grateful for that. But you'll get comments from people, I'm sure they mean well, saying you need to plan this, I'm going to do this, I'll move here, this guy hasn't done that and he's made this mistake or whatever. You know, on a personal note, I'm just going to nip back very quickly to Thailand. I didn't make a mistake moving to the mountains. I wanted to move to the mountains. That was the whole point of getting with that girlfriend. I wanted to try some real Thai. I knew if you get the girls there, they want you to move back to their villages and things, and that's what I wanted to do. Never expected the relationship to last forever. I wouldn't have wanted to stay there forever. I mean, the reason we fell apart in the end was she was unfaithful, but she was unfaithful because I was going away and travelling for a couple of months at a time and leaving her, you know, and I'll be honest, I had a couple of indiscretions myself, so I don't blame her at all. I'm not bitter, but that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to go there and then I wanted to leave there. You know, it's how things pan out. Anyway, I've got a bit sidetracked there. It just frustrates me when people don't listen to what I'm saying. But the reason I'm doing this and saying that, making that point, is you will get people who will plan things out and they will say, I'm going to pay my girlfriend this allowance, or don't do this and don't do that. And what they don't seem to realise is by doing that, they are already making the relationship about money. And if you are going to make the relationship about money, then why the hell are you surprised when it goes sour that that's all she's interested in? Because you have made it so. Now, there's nothing wrong with having, lines in the sand and plans. I'm prepared to do this, I'm prepared not to do this. But you've got to realise that just because they're your lines in the sand doesn't mean they're her lines in the sand. What really has amazed me, and the point I'm trying to get to in a roundabout way, is the lack of time a lot of people over here seem to take to find the one. But then when they found the one, they put zero effort into the relationship. And that's really what I want to talk about today. Because it's blown my mind the number of times I've seen this. And invariably, these are the relationships that don't work. And then the guy falls back and he's all amazed. Because let's face it, if you are in a large age gap relationship, financial incentives will have played an initial part in the relationship. Let's face it, it's not going to be a physical attraction. But that doesn't mean that the relationship can't work if you put the effort into it. You've got to try and find the right person, and you've got to try and make the relationship work. Now, I know a couple of guys over here, good friends, who have got big age gap relationships. I know a few guys over here in their later years who don't have particularly big age gap relationships, which is nice. Because you always assume, the stereotype is everyone is. So it's always nice to see guys in their 50s and 60s and 70s with wives of a similar age, because it dispels that stereotype. But the point is, these guys, even though there's an age gap, they are the driving force to a great life. They involve themselves in the community. They do stuff together. They're always out together. They they have a healthy relationship because they work at it. They'll do the quizzes together. They'll play bowls together. They will do things together, and they will take an interest in what their partner wants. Now, when you do that, it's got to strengthen the relationship, hasn't it? Because that's what relationships are. They are relationships. Seems to me a lot of people over here who complain when relationship goes north or south, what's the expression? Goes south, is it was all about the money to her. But they never reflect and look back on the way they behaved. Because the example I give, you may have agreed an allowance or something in the beginning, and perhaps if you had worked on the relationship, the allowance would have been sufficient. But it's like anything in life. You've got a job, you may agree a salary at the start, but if your boss treats you like crap and you feel undervalued, then you're going to start putting your foot in the sand, aren't you? You're going to start saying, I want more money. And if you don't get more money and things don't improve, then you'll walk away. That's how things work in a business relationship. Why would they be any different in a romantic relationship? Because I tell you, it's incredible when you go out sometimes here. I say I've seen it a lot in Dimageti, but not in the people I know. Because the types of guy I'm talking about are not the types of guy I would want to associate with. That's not me being judgmental, it's just me being honest. Because these people seem incredibly selfish. You'll see them in restaurants and things, and they're sat there with their girlfriends or wives. They don't communicate. They say nothing to each other. They invariably do whatever the guy wants to do. Because in his mind, it would appear that was his definition of a traditional relationship. that the Filipina doesn't question what he wants to do. He does it because he's the man. He's paying her X amount of money, so that's her job. So she basically does whatever he wants to do. You know, I really struggle with that because I take the view, what's in it for her other than money? Now, I'm sure I get some of these wrong. You know, some of the people I've looked at, probably, you know, you see them for an hour, you observe, you come to conclusions. Often conclusions are wrong. There's a couple of people I've met here in Dumagetti, didn't like at first, thought they're not for me, but turned out to be great guys. I was wrong. So, you know, I'm generalising here. But the point I'm getting at is you've got to take time to try and find the right person with similar interests, you know, or things you've got in common, things you can do. But even if you find the right person, you've got to work at that relationship. I mean, you don't have to. You can do what these other guys do. But why are you surprised when the relationship goes south if she's bitter and twisted and it all becomes about the money? Because the love may have been there, but it's gone. And it's probably gone partly because of the way you behaved. Not always the case. Not always the case. You will get gold diggers. You will get people who have, you know, planned to hook a Westerner. Probably no matter what he did, it was always about the money and it was always about the land, the house, etc., etc. And once they got it, you know, they took it. But I really don't think that's as common as people make it out to be. I honestly don't. And a lot of Filipino women are comfortable being a traditional wife in the sense of, you know, cooking the meals, doing the washing, you know, etc., etc. That's what you're looking for. But surely even those deserve, you know, to choose a few restaurants from time to time. I mean, it's what makes me laugh about, you know, when people say don't move back to the village or the barangay or whatever, you know, don't live in a province. Well, I get where you're coming from. I think I would struggle to live in a province in the Philippines. I don't think it would be the same as Thailand because the culture is too similar. It's too easy to get bored. In Thailand, there was always something, a festival or something, you know, to keep you interested, something you weren't expecting. Why do we do this? Why do we do that? I think it would be hard in the provinces. But equally, if you're not going to do that because you don't want to, and you're going to expect her to live with you in a different city, but you're not going to make any effort, you're not going to try and, you know, take any interest in what she wants, doing things she wants to do, having conversations and things, then why are you surprised it doesn't work out? Because the definite, you know, the explanation people will say is don't move to the provinces because it's all on her terms and you will become bored and isolated. Well, by not doing that, isn't she going to get bored and isolated? And if she gets bored and isolated, then isn't the relationship doomed? Isn't she going to leave just as the same way as the guy who's moved to the provinces has? Because the way I would look at it, if you've moved to the province for her, you've made a big concession, and she's got to make the effort to integrate you and things. And if she doesn't, well, that's your excuse to go. You know, walk away. Obviously, if you made the mistake of rushing in too quickly and you bought land and all that kind of stuff, well, you know, you've made your bed, mate. You've got to lie in it. But that's why you shouldn't rush into these things, in my opinion. But I've been surprised, pleasantly surprised, how many rock steady relationships there seem to be over here. Obviously, you don't know how rock steady they are. You only see them in public. But I've not heard of many guys in my circle of friends who've been taken to the cleaners, you know, when the relationship's gone wrong. But it happens. It happens a lot if you believe the YouTube vlogs and things. But as I say, Whose fault is that? You know, relationships, as far as I'm concerned, are 50-50. I mean, there's an English vlogger. I don't want to criticise it. I'm not going to name him. But he disappoints me because he's English and I expected it better. But I have not watched his channel in a long time. I tried it a while back, but it was also negative. It was like, you know, you cannot make a Filipina understand this. You can't get a Filipina to do this. Americans can't understand that. Americans will never get it. And you think, well, why should the Filipina get it? You're in the Philippines, mate. You can discuss things, but just because that's the way you do it in England, why do they have to do it the same way as you? You know, why are you so convinced your way is right and no one else's is right? Because that's all I ever got, you know, from him was, you know, and funnily enough, his relationship went north, which is very sad. South, right? I can't keep getting mixed up between north and south, which is very sad that that happened. But I've seen some thumbnails recently. It's my money, not yours. Again, it's all about money. If you're going to go into a relationship and make it about money, I know relationships are different over here, but to me, if you're married to someone, it's 50-50. You know, in terms of, you know, that's the way European court. Anyway, I'm divulging. I'm not saying you should do this. Okay, I've gone a bit off track, as I often do. I'm just saying, fellas, I think you're fooling yourselves if you think you can come here, find someone, and then just lead the life you want to lead and do everything you want to do and not think that she's going to get a bit disgruntled, particularly if she's younger. I mean, if she's younger, it's going to be worse because she's still got options. If you've got with someone in the later 40s or 50s, again, I'm generalising, you will probably find that they'll put up with more. They've got less options. They don't expect to do more. But if you've got an age gap, I think a big age gap, you've got to work at it. And if you work at it, I think it can work. I've seen it work with people. But, you know, that's the reality. It made me laugh. Many moons ago, I did a video and I was talking about, you know, I was dating a couple of girls or went out on dates with a couple of girls, 19 and 20. And I felt a bit, you know, I wasn't comfortable with it. I felt a bit like a dirty old man. But that's just me. There's nothing wrong with that, you know. But a couple of people said in the comments, I think there was one woman, said, do not steal this child's life. You're taking away her best years. And I thought, am I really? Am I? Well, a lot of these people, if it's about the money, they're not going to have any best years, are they? Let's face it. They're going to struggle to survive. If you believe the stereotypes, they're just after guys for their money because their lives are so lousy. So if I get with a girl who's younger than me and she gets to go out to restaurants all the time and we travel and we go to other countries and, you know, do things which she couldn't possibly do on her own budget, have I taken away her best years? Have I? Have I taken away her best years? I mean, that's what fascinates me about some of these people, these judgmental people. The reality is, we all have our own expectations of what relationships should be. I don't believe a relationship can work or be a fulfilling relationship if you don't understand or try to understand your partner's expectations and you don't try to meet them. I'm not saying you have to fulfill them. They may be completely unrealistic, but you've got to try and understand them. You've got to try and appreciate them and you've got to value them. Because at the end of the day, you're in a relationship. If you don't value your partner's opinions, why the hell should she value yours? And don't get me wrong, I'm far from perfect. There are times I will lecture Ellen on how you should do it this way in England, etc., etc., etc. You know, I don't like the sulking or whatever, but she explained a few times the sulking is part of the culture. You know, it's just, it is different over here. And you should be aware of that. And you should be aware that it takes effort. And if you are not prepared to put the effort in, then plan for that eventuality. Plan for the fact that you want to be a selfish person. Fine, be a selfish person. But be a selfish person who's not stupid. You know, accept that the relationship, if you're going to live that lifestyle, there's a more chance it's going to fail. So don't buy the house, don't buy the property, don't buy the land, you know, don't do this, you know. Because I really do struggle a lot of the time when I have watched these vlogs in the past where some guy's complaining about how he lost this and she took that, and you just look at the guy and you listen to him. And they're invariably sound quite boring. I know that's an assumption. And there was generally a big age gap. And you just sit there and you think, what kind of a husband or partner were you? Because you see it here. You see, I used to see it in Thailand a lot. You know, there would be guys who would go out to bars all day long. You know, fine. As far as they're concerned, they had they'd worked hard during their lives. It was their money. And they could spend it how they liked. But then when the wife said she wants some money for her parents or something like that, they'll go down the pub, have a couple of beers, and start complaining to the others. I'm not doing that. Why should I do? You know, well, how does she view that? You've got enough money to go out and drink and spend your day in bars, but you won't help her poor father. I don't know if her father really needs the help. I don't know if she's conning you. I'm just saying, you've got to think of it from her point of view. Because if you don't consider what her observations are and how she feels, then don't moan when it goes wrong and you lose everything. I mean, at the end of the day, I say, we're all of an age where we should make our own decisions. And, you know, you live and die by your own decisions. And I'm not, you know, telling anyone how to live their lives. Do what you want to do. I know people get annoyed when I keep saying, I'm not this, I'm not that. Well, you know, that's just the way I am. That's what I do. But it's a word of caution. It is a word of caution, because I say I've been blown away how some people recently in the comments said, I'm going to go here, I'm going to do this, I'm going to find this girl, I'm going to pay that, I'm going to move here because of this and that. You can't plan your lives online with the best will in the world. The things you plan for, and you should plan, it's prudent to plan, but the reality is the things you plan for invariably never happen, and the things you don't plan for blindside you, you know, and they catch you. You know, that's just the way life is. You know, it's not going to be as easy as you think it is to come here and find a traditional relationship that works. I say a traditional relationship because I like a traditional relationship. I've got no problem with that. I had a traditional relationship in Thailand in the sense that she did all the cooking and things, you know, because I could not, you know, do anything there because she'd get upset about it. As far as she was concerned, she was my girlfriend and it was her job to look after me. There was one time, I've mentioned it in a previous video, we had a dirty kitchen. We had a kitchen inside and a dirty kitchen. And I hadn't been in the village very long, but I went out and I started washing some plates and things. And then I looked around and there were some Thai women like looking over the things, looking at me, watching me. And I said to her brother, I said, what are they looking at? He said, they've never seen, I can't believe he said they've never seen a man washing up before. I don't think that's true because I had seen men washing up over there. But they've never seen a farang washing up or doing housework. And I thought it was quite funny. So I like him away, you know, carry out washing. I went back in the house later on because I can't remember where Ashley had gone. She'd gone somewhere. We came back and I told her, I said, I'm famous now. I'm the only farang that does, thinking she would laugh about it. But no, quite the opposite. Why have you done that? They're going to think I'm a bad girlfriend. I'm not looking after you. This is so embarrassing. Never do that again. No, that was the way it was there. And I liked that relationship in that sense. The one in Buriram was a similar relationship. Seemed to be the way it was with the partners I was in Thailand. But just because we had that relationship didn't mean I wouldn't ask her, bloody mosquitoes, I don't want to get dengue again. Doesn't mean that I wasn't saying to her, like, you know, which restaurant do you want to go to tonight? Where would you like to go? What would you like to do? Doesn't mean I didn't take a keen interest in what she wanted. You know, not all the time. I wasn't a simp. You know, I'd do things that I wanted to do. She didn't control me. But, you know, as far as I was concerned, my experience of relationships, if you keep the girl happy, it makes a quieter life for you. You know, it just does. I'll no doubt get some comments, well, you've been divorced twice. Well, I will do a rebuttal video and explain why my marriages didn't work. But, you know, like I say, advice from anyone online on a vlog, take it with a pinch of salt. Take mine as well. I'm just saying to you, there are so many people that seem to come here with this idea of it's my way or the highway. This is what I'm prepared to do. You're going to accept it because it's a traditional relationship. And as I say, my way or the highway. But then when they hit the highway, generally taking a few pounds with them, these guys are like, oh, why has he done this to me? Why has this happened? I say I'm not trying to be cold-hearted. I'm not trying to be cold-hearted. I've been genuinely surprised. There are positives and there are negatives, because I have been very surprised in Asia just how weak some of the relationships seem to be, in the sense that the guys make no effort whatsoever. But I've equally been surprised by so many guys who have fantastic relationships. And I'm talking about big age gaps, but the age doesn't stop them. They are incredibly active, they're doing stuff, and they're leading a great life. And you can see the younger wives are enjoying it, because they go out and integrate. You know, they take part in the quizzes and things, and they interact with the other girlfriends and the other expats, and it's lovely. It's lovely to see that. You know, when I first got here, I'm not going to mention any names, but I went down to, went out of a few vloggers, down to a couple of resorts around here, and the thing I didn't like about it was I got there, and all the girlfriends and the wives were there, and they went down one end of the pool and chatted, and all the guys sat up the other end of the pool and chatted. And I'm thinking, what is that about? Why can't we talk to them? And some of the guys are very boring. Not all of them, but you know, that did me in those circles, and that's why I moved to Sikkim. I thought, I can't move in this kind of. I can't do this. It's not for me. But I've been incredibly surprised and pleasantly surprised since I've come back and moved to this side of Doomageti and started moving around different areas, because I have got a circuit of places I go to, and they all are on a certain side. Anyway, the point is, people here seem to move in, I wouldn't say cliques, but there are certain bars and restaurants at certain, and coffee shops at certain groups of people. Can't think of the term now. Patronise, and there are other bars and things and restaurants and that people patronise. And the area that I socialise in, expats are, on the whole, very friendly. On the whole, seem to be in solid relationships and like to have a good time. And that is why I move in those circles. If they weren't, then I'd move somewhere else. I wouldn't go to those places, you know what I mean? But that has really surprised me, you know, because there are a lot of people here, and there's no doubt about it, who are in relationships where it's just about the money and the age gap, and the partner is trying to escape poverty. The Filipino is, sorry. But there are equally some damn rock solid ones as well, and that has surprised me how many there are. Some of the guys I know have been here 30 years plus, you know, and in relationships for like, you know, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 years. I mean, to be fair, most of the guys have been in 30 plus, have had a breakup and are with someone else. But same in the West, isn't it, really? I mean, you know, it's longest I've ever been in a relationship is 10 and a half years. I don't expect relationships to last forever. If they do, they're fantastic, but I don't, you know, expect them to. Never expect them to. I work at them, but, you know, that's why, you know, when people say in the comments, you know, if you hadn't done this and you had planned for it, if the relationship went, you want a big plan, you know, but it's not about me, this video. And I say, I do not want to come over as condescending. I've gone on a bit too long. I'm just saying to you, I'll make the same point again. You know, when you're planning to come here, take time to find the right partner. I mean, it's as simple as that. Don't rush into things, but don't think you are going to be able to come here and have a relationship where you don't give basically like two shits about what she wants because you're paying X amount and she is just basically working for you and she does whatever you want. Because I'd suggest it's very unlikely to work out the way you want it to. And why should it? I mean, at the end of the day, why should it? You know, we're not in the 1800s now. Things have moved on. Divorce is a thing in the Philippines now, or very soon will be. You know, you got to work at relationships. And on the positives, I genuinely believe now, having spent approaching a year and a half here now, I think you've got more chance of a relationship working long term here with a Filipino than definitely have in the West, and potentially more than Thailand. Because Thailand, you've got to really learn the Thai culture if you want a relationship to work. You've got to understand what motivates them. Here, quite similar. You know, it's a Christian country. You know, the women tend not to be unfaithful here. The men are, the Filipino, I mean, I'm generalising, but women will often stay in relationships and put up with a lot more crap there. You know, I know it's a generalisation, but when a Filipino woman sleeps with someone, they tend to think that's it forever. Not all. I know some promiscuous guys here. I mean, it's 2024, isn't it? No, 2025 even, the year of Tinder. So, you know, some people do sleep around. Nothing wrong with that. But I'm saying generally they are more conservative here, the women. They will provide you with a more conservative relationship where they allow you to make the decisions and things and don't question so much. But you can't take the piss out of that. You can't push it to the point where you treat them like dirt. Because we come down to the money, it's how you give it to them. I'm not saying you should give money to people, but you know, if you're going to say like, you know, they want this amount of money, give it to them and just slam the money on there, but I'm not doing it again or whatever, even though you've given them the cash, still going to cause ill feeling. You don't like it when your dinner's slammed down on the table and like, eat that, why? You're going to get upset. Anyway, I've gone on now. But I think I've made my point. I'm saying it blows my mind how many people seem to come to Asia expecting to get a partner, knowing full well the attraction is, or part of the attraction is their wealth and the security they can provide. But when they found the partner, don't think they have to make any effort to make the relationship work. Because as far as they're concerned, they brought the money to the equation. But then they're surprised when they split up and it all becomes about the money. Because that was the foundation for the relationship in the first place. I mean, you must know that. You must know when you come to the Philippines, women don't really, you know, trust me, Filipino women do not dream about marrying men 50, 60 years older than them. It can happen and it can be a great relationship, but that's not their aspiration. Their aspiration is for a better life. And if you give them a better life, it can work. If you treat them like crap, very unlikely to work. But isn't that the same as anything in life? Anyway, I've gone on long enough now. I've gone round in circles. I always do. I apologise to the people who complain about it, but hey, you know, that's just the way I do my videos. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed, it would be great if you did. But whether you do, whether you don't, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, stay safe, be lucky.